오, 몰라. 이거 있다. 너무 배워가지고.
going to our CEO speak on this. Right? I know a lot of people, the cohort of second, no, the cohort of March and June, they've been so hungry to want to level and live. Am I right? Am I right? Am I wrong? So they been one. You're not on. You're not here on this week. You're not on this because I hungry to go. Like, no, that I said that's hunger actually because the fact that I was from different people, different food, it's a good thing. No, I mean, something that I even don't want to speak of this journey. And that I don't want to speak of this journey. People cannot do what they are doing. So, they have to say, they don't like the topic for me. It's like, no, I'll spend my money, think that was worth. So, like I said, you should be
My name is Ayo.
Okay.
Product side.
Okay.
On the fashion side.
If you want to sew clothes, let me advertise for you. If you want to sew clothes, please meet me. So I won't say more about for you. Okay, so please your name, your shirt. You can't hear me. What okay. So let's make welcome our CEO, our co-founder, and the board.
Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. What's up, guys? Good morning. How you all doing? Are you having a wonderful morning? Don't mind me. I'm not a smiler. And then every once in a while, I get reminded that I should smile. But I was struggling to fall asleep yesterday because I was nervous that I was going to be standing in front of some fine people today. So, can you turn this on so I can connect it to the internet? So I didn't sleep well, but I'm here now. I'm fired up because it is always a privilege for you to be asked to speak to people, more importantly, young people. It's amazing. Because, you know, the world and the way we live and the way we grow has really changed. Is this my presentation?
Yes.
Are you driving?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So, the world and the way we learn has really changed. When I was growing up, when I was in primary school, secondary school, when something happens in Korea, right? Do you know where we get that information? Maybe the next day. Social what? There was no social media. There was just media. It was not social. So when something happens, we get the information the next day. Now, Korea, right? Do you know where we get that information? If Obama says something the next day, social what? Ridiculous. There was no social media. There was just media. Same time, not social. So when something happens, we get the information the next day, right? Now, Korea, right? Do you know where we get that information? If Obama says the next day, social what? Ridiculous. There was no social media. There was just media. Same time, not social. So when something happens, we get the information the next day, right? Now, Korea, right? Do you know where we get that information? If Obama says about the ones that are ridiculous, the generations before us. I'm a Gen Z, okay? If you're a Gen Z, please raise your hand. Then there's Gen Y, right? The millennials, which in all seriousness I belong to. And then the Gen X and the baby boomers, right? We are luckier than they are. We have a better chance. When we talk about how progress has been made, right? If you look at how much we scream NSARS now, NSARS, police brutality, everything that happened there used to happen in the 90s. So there was no recording of it, there was no amplification of it, because guess what? Today everybody's a content creator, and we have a phone in our hand to record everything and report everything. So it gives me, privilege to stand in front of you today to talk about one of my favorite topics, failure. And somebody will wonder, why does he like talking about failure? Does he like to fail? I learned about failure when I was in freshman year in university. I studied accounting, by the way, and I stumbled into tech. So I'm a tech bro, but I'm an accountant by training. I was taking this class called Finance 101, freshman year, and I remember this professor, white guy, very mean guy. You have to take this class. That's just his own thing. Like, you cannot just come here and get a free ride. So his exams were very difficult, his assignments were really crazy, and if you pass this class, however, you will never forget the things that you learned, and it would always follow you in any endeavor, in any walk of life you walk into. And if you're running a business, if you're working somewhere, some of the things they taught us about, they taught us about, future value of money, present value of money, all of those things. You never forget them. So why? So I took the class first time, I got a D. DK. Okay. We'll take it again now. As an accounting major, you cannot be getting D in finance. So took it again, and this time around, I knew more. So I got a C. And I'm like, oh, if I take this class one more time, the only thing that will cost us or me is money, right? But the third time, I can't fail. It's not possible. And I took the class the third time, and I got an A plus. And then I was when, in my own young age, without anybody's help, I understood what failure was. I just understood that failure just meant try again. So to me, today I'm going to be talking about failure. We're going to talk about perception, mindset, what it means, what, is failure a good thing, is it a bad thing? And so, as we start, please, I also like interactive sessions. So I'm going to be pointing at you guys, talking to you guys, asking questions. Are we also online?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. If there are questions online, you can read them to me. Just to give you a little bit of background of me, my name is Wande Adams. I am the co-founder and CEO of The Bulb Africa. The Bulb Africa is a tech talent incubator. We train software developers here. Some of you have trained here or are currently training here. We recruit, welcome these recruits and police software developers. We build software solutions for businesses and all kinds of organizations. And then we also have a co-working space here. And I work with an amazing team here at The Bulb Africa. So today we're going to talk about what failure is. Go back. Let's just go through. So today we're going to talk about what failure is. Is it a positive or a negative thing? Is it a feeling? Is it an action? And then we're going to talk about the mindset of how you handle failure. And then we'll look at some of my favorite people in the world that just always, anytime I hear their name, it just always reminds me that failure is a recipe for success. Let's go to the next slide, please. So what is failure? Failure is a lack of success in achieving a desired outcome or goal. It often occurs when expectations or targets are not met. How many of you have failed in life? One way or the other, you failed something. You failed an exam, you failed to meet a target, you failed. Please, boldly. So we've all failed.
You never feel jam, never
So
like
we're all alone. So you failed jam. I heard that when you write jam, you get points for writing your name. Is that correct? Or that's a fiction? And I heard that somebody scored 0 in jam, and then it was not possible to score 0 in jam because if you score 0 in jam, it means you even spelled your name wrong. That's village jam. Okay. So again, for me, I always like to take quotes from different people that just kind of, and those quotes just kind of remind you of their mindset and their perception. And so Henry Ford, who knows Henry Ford here? Can anyone who's Henry Ford? Ford automobiles, Ford Motors. He says failure is simply the opportunity to begin again. This time, more intelligently. Do you guys remember my finance 101 story? I took the class again, more intelligently, right? So let's look at, by show of hands, or let me go around the room. Is failure positive or negative? It can be both. I'm telling you to pick a side. If you are supposed to be somewhere at 10 o'clock this evening, or 10 o'clock tonight, and they say if you show up on time, 10 million naira. If you are late by a second, will you consider that failure? So which one? Pick one. It's negative. Positive. Positive.
Positive.
Positive. Positive.
Negative.
This one, that jam is still on. Sorry, what's your name? She's from positive or negative? It can be both. I know. I'm telling you to pick a side. Usually people like to go through the middle. They don't want to left or right, positive or negative. Both. Plus, okay, it's positive. Let's take some on this side, positive or negative. Positive. Why would people say failure is positive? I just give you a scenario. If you miss out that 10 million, that 10 million is gone. You can.
Example of your exam. So you have
So based on my example,
but not just that.
you know, I don't remember how much a course was back then. I had to pay for that thing 3 times.
And you only food once.
Huh?
You only food once. When you go.
Twice.
I don't think you failed. You just
I mean, D is a pass mark.
you just didn't get
So it depends on your worldview, to be honest, and your perspective of how you handle failure, and that's why we're here to be talking about it, right? It really depends on the mindset that you have. Let's go to the next slide, please. Yes, please. Huh? Oh, you hear more examples of failure.
That's what you hear.
So it really depends on your perspective, right, and mindset. So let's look at from a negative perspective. What will make you, what will make you feel like failure is a negative? Most people who have emotional responses to everything in life would definitely see failure, because failure is a disappointment. Do you guys agree with me? So if you're the kind of person who you see things from a negative point of view every time, when you're disappointed, you're down, right? And then you feel so bad, right? So because of that emotion, so most emotional people would treat failure from a negative perspective. And then if you see some of the reasons why they fail, if you click on one for me, just click on one. There you go. If you click on one for me. Why? Because they're emotional people. Failure does what to them? It triggers a negative emotion. Right? It triggers a negative emotion. 2, it makes them what? Minimize that and click on 2. Failure also causes self-doubt. Am I better than what I say I am? Right? There's one of my favorite books is a book that says, I am better than this. No matter where you find yourself in life, if you challenge yourself and you know yourself and you say to yourself, I am better than this, you will not have self-doubt. If we look at the third reason, or the third negative perspective, is to point fingers. And one of my favorite saying that people say is, when you point one finger at somebody, what are you doing? So if you fail, who should you really focus on? Yourself. Yourself. It's to point fingers, because people don't like to take responsibility. Some of my colleagues here will say one day, you are too harsh, you don't have emotional intelligence. It's not that I'm harsh, it's that I put myself, the standards are just so high that if I don't meet the standards, I'm not pointing at someone else. So why are you here telling me that every other thing is the reason for the failure but you? Very key, right? And then, lastly, number 4, please. minimize 3 and give me 4. 4 will tell you that the reason why people look at failure from a negative perspective is the fear of trying again. Or as I would say, it's not just the fear of trying again, there's also the cost of trying again. Remember I mentioned that it costs money to retake that same class multiple times. The fear of trying again, the cost of trying again. Fear is a very big deal. And you need to be able to face your fears, right? And if you're able to face your fear, right, if you go and fight, if they call you tomorrow and say Anthony Joshua wants to fight, what will you say? No. Do you know how much they pay boxers? Even the ones that lose. One of my friends said, they said, so the question was, if they had to give you $1 million for every round you last against AJ, how many rounds would you last? The guy said, I'll go down in the first round. 1 million is enough now. If I'm waiting for 2, 3, 4 million, if you knock me out and I die. But yeah, you know, the fear of trying again, that's why you see when you see a fighter, like a real fighter, you never heard of a boxer get into a ring, lose, and he's not the one demanding rematch immediately. Right? Immediately, he's demanding rematch. That's why like one of the smartest people in this world, Donald Trump, just did a debate with his opponent, and they beat him hands down. And the guy said, I won, so I'm not doing it again. Did you get the logic? And then the guy said, and then the person that won, Kamala Harris, says, oh, let's go again. And then the guy goes, you see, I told you, I won. Because it's the loser that is always asking for another, for rematch. Very smart. It's the mindset. Do you understand me? So, let's look at it from a positive perspective. People who have a positive mindset, when they fail, the first thing that comes to them is, what went wrong? How do I learn from it? When I used to be a data engineer, and back then, we'd be applying for jobs, and I used to tell my friends that I love interviewing for jobs, and they would wonder why. And I lived most of my career in the US, right? And in the US, the IT field is predominantly people from Indian heritage. So Indians or Indian heritage, and they are very confrontational. So when they are interviewing you, they are almost rude to you. That you're like, what's happening? I do not just jobs I'm applying for, right? And so I would always go to these interviews, and when they ask me a question that I know, I would dwell on it. I would start telling stories that touch, and just start. But those Indians, they already know the trick. So once they see that you're talking, they'll shut you up and ask you the next one. But the minute they ask you a question that you don't know, they will now start piling on questions that are in that same field. So I used to tell people, I like those interviews because as you ask me questions that I don't know, you are going to be the last person to ever ask me that question. So when I go to interviews and I take my notepad and I'm taking notes, I'm not taking notes of the things that you are saying or the things that I know. I'm taking notes of the questions that you're asking me that I don't know the answer to. You know why? Oh, after that interview, I'm going to go and study. And I'm going to go and know how to answer that question. So you know what happens? By the time you interview 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, you probably have come across almost every possible question that anybody can ask you. Right?
Yeah.
Some other people will feel dejected. I didn't get that job. Oh, no, they asked me that question. I'm not savvy and I didn't get that job. You gotta keep going. Because positive people review and learn. So, how do they take? The first thing they do is they treat every single situation as a learning opportunity. Even in the current career that I'm in right now, when somebody drops the ball, I always tell them, okay, I'm not shouting at you. I just want to make sure that you don't what, do it again. I have never been upset with somebody for doing something wrong the first time. Never. But if you're doing the same thing over and over again, then it means that your mindset to failure is that, you know what, I can just be failing anyhow. You don't want to succeed. And there are those like that they don't see failure as a tool to succeed because they only want to give the barest minimum. Those are not the people that we're talking about. Those ones, they are back to the negative people because there is that fear of failure. Alright? The next thing that someone that looks at failure from a positive mindset, the next thing they do is it builds resilience, builds character. Hey, don't get me wrong. Don't go and failing every day on purpose and so guy you feel, you say, it builds my character. No, that's not what we're talking about. But you know, when you fail at something, if you apply the first approach, which is what? Learning opportunity. If you fail at something and you say to yourself, you know what? This is an opportunity for me to learn and make sure that I don't fail at this thing again. What it has done is it has built that confidence in you to come back and face that thing square on. So if I fight AJ today and AJ knocks me out in 1 minute, what fighters usually do, boxers usually is, they change their training regimen. They sit down and study how the guy fights, how does he move, does he get tired? They watch the fight and they're like, oh, Mike Tyson, if you get to round 6 with him, you have a chance. He has knocked you out in 30 seconds. Everybody's laughing at you. Everybody's laughing at you. So, oh man, you couldn't last more than 30 seconds and you say you're a boxer. A real boxer a real fighter that thinks of failure from a positive point of view will just tune out all that noise and do what? Go and watch tape. Not just that tape. Watch his previous fights. Change their training regimen. Change everything. Because they cannot come back and fight the same fight. Because if they do, they'll get knocked out again in 15 seconds. So it has to build resilience in you if you're coming from a positive mindset. And guess what? If after you've done all that learning, now you're resilient, you are eager to go again. You know why? I said it earlier. The confidence is there. You are motivated to go again. Are you with me? Yes. Failure from the positive mindset also encourages creativity. Because you also say to yourself, how do I tackle this thing in a different way? So you look at the box. This is the box that you were in that made you fail, right? And then you start to say to yourself, how do I start to think outside the box and come up with a creative way to do things? That's what failure from a positive point gives you. But it's all down to the mindset that you have. Next slide, please. If you have been following this series, I think Tosin's first session, he talked about mindsets. There is what they call a static mindset, and then there's a growth mindset, right? And so if you, again, according to Carol Dweck, this is a psychologist from Stanford, he says that mindset is a set of beliefs that affect how people think, feel, and behave. Whether you think you can, whether you think you can't, you are right. Whichever way. So the idea of me asking you, is failure a positive or negative? It is a choice. It's either you think you can do something, and then you get all of the tools and resources that makes you want to do that thing, or you think you can't, and then you call to failure. What are the impacts? The mindset affects how people react to successes and failure. their motivations to take on new challenges. If you don't have a positive mindset, if you have a fixed or a static mindset, you will not want to change anything. All of those things are around how a positive, how somebody that thinks from a positive perspective handles failure will go out the window. Again, there are two types of, I've been saying it, there are two types of mindset. There's a fixed mindset, and that's the belief that people are born with certain amount of skills and intelligence and can't be improved upon. And then there's the growth mindset, the belief that intelligence, abilities, and talents can be improved through effort. I like sports a lot, and I like to use sports illustration, and you're going to meet some of my favorite sports people as I speak to you today. But even when I think about a growth mindset, two people come to mind. Who's a football fan here? Cristiano Ronaldo. Lionel Messi. Every now and then we want to pit them against each other. Every now and then when you mention Davido, somebody will say Whiskey. No. These are people with growth mindsets that we don't see. Whiskey is a born talented singer, he has a good voice. David has a frog voice, right? But as rich as that kid is, he's one of the most hardworking people you've ever seen. Always in the studio, always on top, always in music videos. Those things may look fun to him and to you guys, it may look like he's having fun of his life. He's not sleeping. He's really not sleeping. If he has a fixed mindset, he has enough money to be balling as a big boy in Nigeria. If he has a fixed mindset, he's had one or two songs that, okay, they are great, okay, we don't need to keep trying. The one that blows my mind the most is Lionel Messi. He has natural skills. As a matter of fact, as much as he blows my mind, Cristiano Ronaldo is not even a human being to me, because he trains so hard, because he doesn't have as much natural skills as Lionel Messi. But what does he do? Nobody can work harder than him. Like I always say, I like to work with talent. I like to work with talent. If you have PhD, come. You can have all the brains in the world, but you cannot be as hardworking as I am. It's the same thing. I have a pastor that used to say, I don't care any assistant pastor that is raising the dead is still an assistant pastor. You have to have a mindset of leadership. So when somebody says that, oh, he's still an assistant, it's not being aggressive or being mean. He's just saying to you that I am still his leader. He is still under my leadership. God has called him through me. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So when you see those types of people, you wonder, Messi takes a penalty kick, he misses it. The next one, they put it down. Another person will be like, I don't. I'm a big Arsenal fan. Bukayo Saka, when he was 17, he wasn't even 18 yet. England was playing in the final of Euros, and England had been crying for a trophy. And then the final went to penalty kick. And all the senior players backed out. I can't take this, it's too much pressure, I can't do this. Saka volunteered himself to take the last kick. Now the last kick is, the first kick and the last kick, they are the biggest kicks because so much pressure. The guy missed. And the whole country were on his back, suffered a lot of racist attacks. All of a sudden, he shows up to his club and says, boss, I want to be the penalty taker for this club. How? You failed on a very big stage. Now, you failed at something, you're not telling them, give me the responsibility for it. What guts do you have? And now, he scores way more than he misses. That's a growth mindset. You see, when you have a fixed mindset, you are limiting yourself and it affects you more than you know it. If we go to the next slide, you see that it says that failure is an opportunity to grow from a growth mindset person. Failure is the ability, failure is the limit of my abilities from a fixed mind person. I can't do this. I know somebody that I asked the person, you are not trained, but can you go into the ring and fight Mike Tyson? Yes. I'm like, how? I just don't say I can't. That's the person's mindset. Yes, deep down you know that this guy has been trained to knock people out. Deep down you know that there is no way an untrained person and a trained person get on a tennis court and you say you want to beat the trained person. But the person just says, no, I cannot say I can't. It's just not possible. A growth mindset person will say, I can learn to do anything I want. I can. Like one of my favorite politicians will say, yes, you can. They say I'm either a fixed mindset, I'm either good at it or I'm not. So no, I'm not. For a growth mindset person, feedback is constructive. I've always said in any conversation that I'm having with people when I talk about feedback, feedback is a gift. If you give me a negative feedback, I will thank you. If you give me a positive one, I say it's a gift. When somebody gives you a negative feedback, what they've done is they've given you an opportunity to go and work on that thing that is missing. So that's why when people go to job interviews and they don't get the job and the company does not call them to say, hey, these are the things, these are the reasons why we are not employing you. It's not good. They are not trying to help that person grow. I had an interview this week where the gentleman was just not opening his mouth. I just would not hear anything the guy was saying. And I was sitting right in front of the guy. And I was saying to him, bro, when you go to a job interview, it's an opportunity to sell yourself because you're selling yourself to the organization that, hey, I am the right person to come and do this job. I will fit in your organization and I will provide the technical skills that you need. But if you cannot open your mouth to say all those things, or if you are opening your mouth to say all those things and we cannot hear you, you won't get the job. And a lot of employers will just say, they will just keep going with the interview, knowing that they are not going to employ this person. And then at the end, they'll just say, sorry, we went with another person. No, it's more than you went with another person. Why didn't you pick me? So when I get that email, we found other candidates that are better suited for this role. I always ask, please, what did I do wrong? Ask questions. That's a good mindset. What did I do wrong? And somebody will tell you, hey, in the interview, we just could not hear you. If I ask you what I did wrong and you don't answer me, then maybe I'm not even fit for your organization indeed, because it must be that that's what you do in the organization. You don't give feedback. A growth mindset person likes to try new things. You have to try new things. It won't kill you. New things won't kill people. A fixed mindset person, small frustration, I'm not doing it again. I only stick to what I know. Sushi? No. Why would they chop uncooked? Try it. It won't kill you. You have to have a growth mindset for you to be able to deal with failure. So let's talk about some case studies. Are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? None? Any questions? No. How many of you know the person they call J.K. Rowling? Anybody? Have you heard of the book Harry Potter? Have you heard of that book? If you haven't, go pick it up. It's a good read. She lost her mom to multiple sclerosis at the age of 25. She got divorced a year after marriage. You ever meet people that They get divorced and they don't want to do it again. Or one guy serve them breakfast and that's it, they are not doing it again. No. I guys don't. No. Just serve you breakfast, eat it well. Let it digest. Rest. Ask yourself, what did I do wrong in that relationship? And say to yourself, you know what? It's not him. I must have contributed to this. Now I've learned these are the things I need to look out for. Because these are the things I like, these are the things I don't like. Oh, hey, I'm ready to eat another one. You have to try. She suffered from depression, from everything that she was going through. However, during this time, she was writing one of the #1 selling books known to humankind. Everywhere she took it to, they were rejecting the manuscript. She was unemployed, she was living on government benefit. Do you know what it means to live on government benefit? It means that you go and you collect food stamps so that you can eat, or you go and live in a shelter so that you can sleep because you are homeless and you can't afford to feed yourself. But guess what she did? She kept taking the manuscript of that book to anybody that wants to read it. Reject it is okay. Give me your feedback. After a while, somebody said, you know what, madam, it's not going to work. Has anybody ever heard that before? Somebody that I know said they wanted to go to school after, this was a long time ago, it was, one of my mentors. That after, this man is in his late 60s now, said after secondary school, because he is not from the first wife of his father was a very wealthy man. So when he finished secondary school, he told his father that he wanted to go and study accounting in the university. His father said no. Go and learn carpentry. That's what they did to this lady. He said, madam, this is your book that you're carrying up and down, it's not going to work. Just go and get a job. After all those rejections, and I want you to know that in life, you are going to face resistance. You are going to apply to a school that will turn you down. You are going to apply to a job that you won't get. You are going to try to bag a girl that will say no. It's life. You will face resistance, you will face rejection, you will even have ups. How many of you have ups here? You will face opposition. But you just have to dig another well. Because even in the Bible, it said that when Isaac's servant dug the first well, he faced resistance. When they dug the second well, they faced opposition. But they kept digging till they were finally blessed. So, what happened? When the breakthrough finally came, today she's written the 4th highest grossing film series. She has the, because her book was adapted to a film series. She has grossed $7.7 billion in revenue worldwide from that same book that she was shopping around 12 times and everybody said no, it's not going to work. She has made over $9.5 billion from the franchise. It is now a franchise. It's no longer a book. There are books, there are film series, there are what's it called? Franchise, where they franchise the characters and put them on merchandise and all of those things. She has hit global success that if she didn't have a growth mindset or she gave up on her dreams, we would all be starved. And that's the other thing about failure. If you cower to failure, you're not just starving yourself, you starve those that would have benefited from your success. You wouldn't have done Harry Potter today. So for me, anyone that wants to understand failure and perseverance and all of those things, look into J.K. Rowling's life. It will change your mindset. So, I told you I like sports, but it's not everything that is football. Like I said, I'm a big Arsenal fan, but I also love basketball. And I have some legends that are just my guys. And when you look at the lives of these guys, it is nothing but inspiring. First guy, Michael Jordan. He has the best quote for failure ever. Michael Jordan is arguably the best guy to have the GOAT of professional basketball, the greatest of all time. And this is what he has to say. He said, I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games. 26 times my team trusted me. The coach called timeout and said, hey, pass the ball to Michael. Michael, there are 2 seconds left on the clock. Shoot. 26 times. They trusted him to take the game-winning shot, and he missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. You see, if this guy just ended this quote as at 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and I missed, you will all think, wow, you missed 9,000 shots in your career, you lost more than 300 games, and you missed the buzzer shot 26 times, you are a failure. This guy that we're talking about is the greatest of all time. And he says his failure is what makes him succeed. My favorite. Kobe actually does not believe that failure exists. And I want you to hear it from him. Okay, here his words. Can you please play?
I always think that there's 2 types of players who love to win and players who hate to lose. Which one are you?
I'm neither.
Meaning?
Meaning that, you know, I play to figure things out. I play to learn something, right? Because I think if you play with a fear of failure, or you play with the will to win, or that supersedes the fear of failure, I think it's a weakness either way, right? Because if you play with the fear of failing, you'll have the pressure on yourself to play, you know, to capitulate to that fear. If you play with the sense of I want to win, then you have the fear of what happens if you don't. But if you find common ground in the middle, in the center, then it doesn't matter. You're unfazed by either, right? And that enables you to really just stay in the moment, stay connected to it, and not feel anything other than what's in front of you. So, you know, I try to just be dead center.
So a lot of people in general are afraid of failure. How did you become one of those people who doesn't seem to be afraid of failing?
It doesn't exist. It's not existent. What the hell does that mean? Seriously, what does failure mean? It's not. It doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination. What does it mean?
You're pulling a Jedi mind trick on me right now. I was like, does it exist?
No, I'm serious. Look, I'm trying to think, like, how can I explain it? So, let's use happy endings, right? And then we can relate this to
win and play. I always think that there's 2 types of players who love to win, and players who hate to lose. Which one? I always think that there's 2 types of players who love to win and players who hate to lose. Which one are you?
I'm neither.
Meaning?
Meaning that, you know, I play to figure things out. I play to learn something, right? Because I think if you play with a fear of failure, or you play with the will to win, or that supersedes the fear of failure, I think it's a weakness either way, right? Because if you play with the fear of failing, you'll have the pressure on yourself to play, to capitulate to that fear. If you play with the sense of I want to win, then you have the fear of what happens if you don't. But if you find common ground in the middle, in the center, then it doesn't matter. You're not phased by either, right? And that enables you to really just stay in the moment.
While we're trying to, does anyone have any questions? Yes.
I want to ask. You said when we talk about failure, there's something they call, what they said you have to be diverse. Because you can't just keep doing one thing every time. So I want to ask, is it possible, how can we open ourselves to diversity along the line of failure? For example, I am a JavaScript person before I went to .NET. So I'm really enjoying .NET at the moment. So I was thinking, what if I stick in JavaScript and I have potential for .NET? So in that case, where I believe that maybe I'm having some kind of, because I'm not really enjoying JavaScript at the moment. So how do we open ourselves to diversity along the line of failure?
All right. Thank you. So there's a fine line between, there are some people every time they face challenges, they duck and they want to go try something new, right? As a kid growing up, I played football. They put me in. I was a goalkeeper, and they scored 5 goals. I'm not doing that again. I want to play baseball, right? That could be a way. Some people, that's not diversity, right? Also, you also don't want to be that. There's something I also noticed in this part of the world when it comes to software development. One person wants to do everything. Jack of all trades, master of none, right? You can't be that. What the diversity you are looking for is, I am Michael Jordan, the best basketball player there is. I have conquered that space. I have failed so many times, but I keep trying and I figured it out. I've conquered that space. Now I want to go play baseball. And this is real. He went from being a professional basketball player to being a professional baseball player. Was he as good? No. Did they talk about him? No. Nobody remembers him as a baseball player. But that diversity that they're talking about is when somebody has a growth mindset and they've gotten to a certain level where they feel like, you know what, I am not motivated to do something else in this space. I'm going to give another thing a try. But was a terrible baseball player, but he was trying. He was trying. Coach put me like, don't worry, I can do it. And the key thing is this, right? You know, they say the definition of madness or insanity is you keep doing the same thing over and over again. So you try something once you fail. You don't take the learning, because what does the positive mindset say? It says you learn from the situation and then you come back even better than you were. While you're taking your JavaScript, you are not doing well, or you consider yourself failing, but you are not trying to leave the box that you're in and then think outside of the box. Because the positive mindset also said about what? It says it encourages creativity. You now need to say, you know what am I doing wrong here? Because you can't do the same thing that you were doing to expect, and then you're expecting the same result. I'm sorry. You want to do the same thing that you did the previous times when you failed, but you want to expect a different result. That's insanity, and this is not magic. Reality and a positive mindset says, I am not doing well here. What are the things that I'm doing wrong? You know what? The people that are doing well here, who are they? Come on, okay, what are you doing that is helping you do well in this field? How can I learn from you? You cannot be a prideful person and want to handle failure, because you will fail and you will be in your own water and you do it again in your own capacity and you fail again and then you keep failing. Now, when you fail and you are never successful, you are a failure. I know we've been sitting here talking about failure being a positive thing, right? Failure is a positive thing for those with a positive mindset and those that think of life from a positive perspective and those who have a growth mindset. But when you don't have a growth mindset and you have a fixed mindset, you will not better yourself. You will not think outside the box. You will not try new things. And you will think that, you know what, I will get a different result if I do the same thing within my capacity. And you do. Keep doing that. Failure doesn't become a tool for you for success. So everybody note that down. Failure is supposed to be a tool for success. So if you fail over and over and over again and you're not successful, it's very simple. You are not applying the right mechanism and you are not using, you know, there are some people, right? They are holding a broom and they are standing on top of dirt and they are saying, man, this place is this. Think about that. You are standing on top of dirt and you are holding a broom and you are complaining. The tool is in your hand. All you have to do is what? Use it. Sweep. Action. Failure is a tool, but you not being successful after you failed is because you didn't take action. Does that answer your question? Can we play now?
Types of players. Players who love the women, players who hate them this morning.
We need to disconnect it from there and do the sound from there. Sorry guys.
I play to learn something, right? Because I think if you play with a fear of failure, or you play with the will to win, or that supersedes the fear of failure, I think it's a weakness either way.
I always think that there's two types of players. Players who love to win and players who hate to lose. Which one are you?
Neither. Meaning that, you know, I play to figure things out. I play to learn something, right? Because I think if you play with a fear of failure, or you play with the will to win, or that supersedes the fear of failure, I think it's a weakness either way, right? Because if you play with the fear of failing, you'll have the pressure on you.
There's two types of players. I always think that there's two types of players. Players who love to win and players who hate to lose. Which one are you?
I'm neither. Meaning that, you know, I play to figure things out. I play to learn something, right? Because I think if you play with a fear of failure, or you play with the will to win, or that supersedes the fear of failure, I think it's a weakness either way, right? Because if you play with the fear of failing, you'll have the pressure on yourself to play, you know, to capitulate to that fear. If you play with the sense of I want to win, then you have the fear of what happens if you don't. But if you find common ground in the middle, in the center, then it doesn't matter. You're unfazed by either, right? And that enables you to really just stay in the moment, stay connected to it, and not feel anything other than what's in front of you. So, you know, I try to just be dead center.
So a lot of people in general are afraid of failure. How did you become one of those people who doesn't seem to be afraid of failing?
It doesn't exist. It's not existent. What the hell does that mean? Seriously, what does failure mean? It's not. It doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination. What does it mean?
Pulling the Jedi mind trick on me right now. I'm like,
no, I'm serious. I'm trying to think, like, how can I explain it? So, let's use happy endings, right? And then we can relate this to failure, why it's not existent. Like, you know, everybody talks about, like, everybody wants a happy ending, right? Now let's go to the reality of it, right? Let's look at a fairy tale story. Let's look at Snow White. She gets a happy ending, she finds Prince, whatever, she goes on, she lives happily ever after. Well, I call bullshit on that, because 2 months later, the fact is they had an argument and he's sleeping on the couch. Right? So the point is, the story continues. The story continues. So if you fail on Monday, the only way it's a failure on Monday is if you decide to not progress from that. Right? So to me, that's why failure is not existent. Because, you know, if I fail today, okay, I'm going to learn something from that failure and I'm going to try again on Tuesday. I fail, I'm going to try again on Wednesday. So it doesn't exist.
You know what? Should my ratings go in the tank? That's exactly what I'm going to say to the boss. Hey, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, but you know what?
We should try it again on Thursday.
If your ratings go in the tank, and you know, which they won't, but if they did, you had learned a valuable lesson. You had learned a bunch of ways of how not to make a show that sucks. So then the next one will be better than the last one, right?
So are you telling me then, let's just say all the career statistics that you've compiled, they all still exist, still play for the Lakers, still, and all of that still happens. If you finished your career without a championship, you would not have looked at that as a failure?
No, I would have looked at it as being extremely disappointed, because I had a dream and I had goals that I wanted to accomplish, right? And if I don't accomplish those goals, I have to ask myself why, right? So from my position, the reason why I would not have accomplished those things is poor leadership, failure to communicate properly with my teammates to put them in positions to be successful, lack of preparation. You know, all those things would be reasons why I don't win, right? So now, if that was the case, and in my career, I have to sit and I have to analyze that, and then as I move and I evolve, you know, post basketball into business or whatever, those same weaknesses are going to reveal themselves there, right? So if I don't learn from that, I'm going to struggle here too, right? So I can take those situations and learn from those and have them, you know, make me a better person later in life. But if I don't take that stuff and apply that someplace else, then that's failing, which to me is the worst possible thing you could ever have, is to stop and to not learn.
So Kobe has created.
This gentleman has, in that video, pretty much summarizes everything that I've been talking about since. One of the key questions that they asked him is, if you put up all those stats and you don't win a championship, it's a team sport, right? If you don't win a championship, why? Guess what most people will say? Huh?
It's my teammates.
It's my teammates. My numbers are good. What did he say? He said, I wasn't a good leader. I wasn't communicating well. He took responsibility for the whole team not winning. They also asked him, are you joking? What do you mean failure does not exist? What did he say? He said, because if I fail on Monday, that's just Monday. I'm going to try again on Tuesday. Then the lady even went further to say, so is it okay for me to go and tell my bosses that the reason why my ratings are not good, the reason why I'm not meeting my targets is because, hey, I'll try again tomorrow. So, yes, but if tomorrow comes, you don't try again and you keep putting up a show that sucks, that's on you. Because why? You have to learn and you have to analyze what has happened previously and say to yourself, what am I doing wrong? The people that are getting it right, what are they doing right? And it's very key, because two key things that he said that I want you to take on, I want you to write it down, is one, failure is a pigment of your imagination. Failure is a pigment of your imagination. Always remind yourself, anytime you fail, know that you can be successful. Remember, it is a tool. So what do you do with it? Use it. Take action. Secondly, he said the story continues. The story continues. If you fail today, pick up yourself and try again. Who knows that song, that earlier song? Dust yourself off and try again. Lastly, Magic Johnson. I am the one who will take chances and never worry about the backlash. This is key because a lot of people who fail because of the fear to try. The fear to try something new. The fear to say, what will my boss say? The fear. Don't worry. Try it first. You won't know if it will fail. Try it first. And if it fails, guess what? You can tell your boss that, boss, let me tell you what happened, so you can share with the rest of the team so that nobody has to make this mistake again. If you go in that direction, there's a pothole there. I know you didn't send me there, but I have gone there. There's pothole there. Now, tell everybody else that there's what? There's pothole there. If there is no pothole there, and I take that shortcut and I get there before everybody else and I do it better, guess what the boss will say? Great job. Right? But if you have the fear of what the boss will say, the fear of the backlash, you won't even try. And that's why this guy, when he was playing basketball, he would try wild things that the coach didn't ask him to do. Not every time, because you still have to follow order. But he would just try wild things, and then it works out. And people are like, how? For those who watch football, I don't know if you've seen one kick that Olivier Giroud did and he did like this, and it didn't enter. Nobody in their right mind would do this and score a goal. Best goal in football that I can think of, I've never seen anything better than it before. He just tried. Guess what? Do you know what would have happened? It's hard to score a goal in football. So after all that nice play that his teammates have played from the back and the ball got to him and he didn't turn around to chest it to pass to another person and he did this, if that ball would have gone into the stands, guess what will happen? His coach will be screaming at him from the side. His teammates will be angry with him. His coach might even say, you know what, pull him out and bench him because it's not serious. But when he worked, when he did that thing and the thing entered, the whole team ran after him, screamed, you are so amazing. The goal won all awards in the world. If he didn't try it, he wouldn't have won the posters. So, for me, as I round up, there's no way you see me write quotes that you won't hear me write one or two quotes. And this is one of them. And I want you to just note this down. Just remember, it's very simple. It says failure at some point in life is inevitable. In essence, cut the bullshit. You will fail. And you will still fail. Because it says what? It's inevitable. But giving up is unforgivable. Thank you. I hope with this few points of mine, I've been able to convince you and not to confuse you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was amazing. I hope you learned something. So please, it's question time. If you have no question.
I'm coming from the business side. So in most cases, we do feasibility studies and we do our surveys when we want to start business because I've been into that shoe before. So along the line, we did everything right. We went to someone as a mentor to teach you how to go about it. But after doing it, the business eventually failed. So on the long run, I'm talking about myself personally. On the long run, I felt very, very disappointed. So I was even depressed, but I have good people around me that was encouraging me. So at some point, my dad took me to someone, and the person was saying how much he lost when he was coming up. So I had to come down. How do we manage emotional depression with failures? Because it is easy to say, okay, you have to believe in yourself, you have to, but we have emotions, all of us, we have emotions. Sometimes you do more than what you can never imagine. So how do you manage emotional depression with failures?
That's a good question. But the answer is written on the wall. We've talked about it throughout this whole entire conversation, and we ended with it. One, sorry.
Indicators.
No, I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
One, you failed at business, right? The indicators. What was it? Why did you call it a failure?
Because it was the money was much, and
You lost money.
the expectations was not even met at all.
So, did you sit down to retrospect? Because the thing about your emotions are, if you just focus on the failure, right, and you don't focus and you don't see the failure as a tool, then you can sit in a state of depression. However, if you identify that yes, this business has failed, it's disappointing. So you sit down. What did I do? Don't never always focus on the negative. What did I do? Then you separate them. What are the things that I did right? What are the things that I could have done better? You see what you've done? You have turned failure into a tool, because the next time you go into business, similar or not similar, you already have somewhat, you already have a foundation of the right things to do. Are you with me? Those things that were not so good, you learn. You figure out how you can come from a different perspective, and then you do what? Try again. No, don't get me wrong. It's hard. You don't have the money again. How do you try again? Right? But at the end of the day, you have to look at a growth mindset. I have gone into business and failed. Sometimes it's not your fault. I'll give you an example. I used to have a clothing line that used to supply men's clothing to a lot of big, I'm not going to mention any, a lot of big men's store where people buy suits in Nigeria. So 2014, 2015, and I would say, oh no, please don't pay me naira. I'm ordering your product in dollars, I want $1. One customer was like, please, they just made some changes, policy changes. I don't know if anyone remembers sometime in 2015 where you just could not access dollars. And I was due to pay the suppliers. So I said, you know what? Well, how much is $1? They said $1 is 360. I verified $1 is 360. Okay, pay. Person paid the naira into my account. The next month, the dollar became 500. So I'm not talking small. Then a lot of my, so that's the one, I lost money on that transaction. Then everybody else I was buying was like, I can't access dollars. So business, I mean, that was not the reason why, actually I wouldn't say the business sold. We stopped. But that, in that particular moment, I suffered a big loss. It wasn't my fault. And may I also say that it's not even the person's fault. Economic situation. So sometimes, you can even say to yourself, I've done business before where I've overvalued the business. if you ask me to set up another board, myself and my co-founder, we already know there are some things we won't do again. Because along the way, you will fail, because life is a journey, business is a journey, everything that you're doing is a journey. And along the way, you drive into potholes and come out and then fix your tire and then keep driving. If you're going to Ibadan, you get flat tire, we turn back, fix your tire. But, you know, one of the things that the negative perspective of failure says is that you are going to be looking at it from an emotional point of view. And when you are looking at it from an emotional point of view and you only look at the negatives, it will bring depression. So to your point, when depressed, I don't like to use that word because to me it's a medical word and somebody has to diagnose you with it. So you weren't doing so well, right? If you go back, I don't think you did everything wrong. And if you look at the things that you did right, it will set you up for the future. I hope I've been able to answer your questions.
Oh, that's right. Now, this is in terms of organization, right? Nobody wants to employ anybody that with the intention to come into the organization to fail. Okay, but failure can occur, can happen. So how can organization foster that culture to encourage one to learn, like for them to be able to experiment and learn from failure in the organization, and not maybe be scared of failure and once they fail they throw them out?
That's a good question. To be honest, it really depends on the type of organization. So I'll say to you, I know Nigeria is hard today. So job seekers don't really have the option of picking and choosing where they want to work, right? Because if you did, right, while the company is interviewing you, guess what you two have to do? You have to interview the company. Why should I bring my talent to you? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because when you go work for an organization, they're not doing you a favor by employing you. Neither are you doing them a favor by working there. You are there to provide a service, they are going to pay you for the service. Are you with me? So, unfortunately, the way I'm supposed to answer this question is to say, plainly, is know the type of organization you're going into. I've had people that we've tried to employ here, and after going through the interview process, they go on LinkedIn and reach out to current employees or former employees and ask questions. Right? Because if you go into an organization that does not invest in people, it will be difficult for you to say that this organization is going to have room for failure. For me as a leader, because I understand this thing so well, I have room for failure. But where the frustration comes is we're doing the same thing over and over again and it's leading to failure. We will tell you as an organization the areas where you're getting it right. We'll also tell you the areas where you're getting it wrong. You as an individual also have a responsibility to make sure that you are getting it right. So there is that fine line between how does a company that has its goals, right, and responsibility to all its employees, to its customers, to its owners, shareholders, there's always responsibility. How do they make sure that the target that they set out to meet are being met or exceeded? Is to get the right people in place. When you get the right people in place, when someone that works at an organization drops the ball, what type of performance improvement plans do they offer I'm never one to say, oh, you are wrong, you're fired. That's just not a good place to work. You won't learn anything from there. You shouldn't work in those type of places. But then again, we're talking about the country where unemployment is high. The options are just not there. You know, it's too many people looking for work, so an employer knows that, you know what, I can fire you and get another person. But I'm talking about in a standard environment, right? And where you get to, while the company is trying to choose you, you also trying to choose the company, right? You should look at those things. And you should not want to find yourself in a place where there is no room for. See, a place that does not give room for performance improvement is not a place where you can grow. But you don't know everything. Everybody learns on the job. Don't get it twisted. The most powerful individual in the world, as they say, is the President of the United States. When they get to office, they figure some things out on the job. Even though you've been vice president, you've been chief of staff, you've been this, you've been that, you're going to learn on the job. And if they can learn on the job, everybody else should learn on the job also. The question is, what are you doing and what's the organization doing? Because it takes both parties to want to come together and have an understanding that this person, when we tell them to go and execute on the job, they would go by it the right way, and the areas where they drop the ball, we can help them navigate back to the right path. But then we also know that they are not the type of person that is just like this and just relax and does not want to grow. I'm very demanding. And the reason why I'm very demanding is because I set the bar so high. And it's not even just for the organization or for myself, it's even for you. If we drive you hard and we put more expectations on you, and we know that yes, the feeling that we're putting on you, you think it's too much for you, but we are okay to see, no, we put that expectation on you because we think you can do it. If you feel we're not going to kill you, we'll try to help you get better. You see, but when you have a I can't mindset, every time they give you more responsibility than you think you can handle, what do? I can't. So the responsibility, to your question, the responsibility is on both the employer and the job seeker, or the employee.
Someone is asking, how do you approach analyzing failures to prevent similar ones in the future?
How do you approach analyzing failure to prevent similar ones in the future?
Yes.
You see, me personally, that question is true. How I do things, I look at patterns. And I think maybe it's because of my data engineering background, right? I'm looking at data and I'm saying, what is it telling us? Numbers don't lie, right? If you're a salesperson, we're looking at your behavior. There are certain behaviors that a salesperson must exhibit that will get you to closing a deal. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are certain behaviors that a software developer would exhibit that will get them to what? Doing their work successfully, right? A project manager has to follow either waterfall or agile. The reason why there are those structures in place and why we want you to follow them is because it's been tried and tested. So when we're talking about how do you handle someone who is failing, it's, are they constantly doing the same thing? Again, it goes back to pattern. Are they constantly doing the same thing and they are not getting the result? And then we've given them performance improvement opportunities and guided them and said, take this lane. The pattern that we've seen is that if you go in this direction, you will be successful. But even while they are supposed to go in this direction, they are exiting. They are not going through the right part. That will continuously lead to failure. And eventually, as an employer, I'll just tell you, you know what? I've been saying this a lot lately. We have round holes, you are a square peg. you just don't fit. And that's my answer to that question. At the end of the day, once you look at the pattern and once you see that someone is consistently not doing what they're supposed to do, and even after you give feedback, and I can use you as an example, right? I hope you don't mind. When I give you numbers and I give you all of that, I said, look, you keep doing this thing, but the result that I'm seeing is that nobody's paying attention to you, right? And then I said, for them not to pay attention to you, it's because you are not doing this. And then what did I do? I gave you some tools. I said, go and look at what these people are doing. And you started following it. And recently, what did I say to you? Well done. If she does not follow it, guess what would I have to say to her? Madam, round hole, square peg, you will not fit. Let's do what? Let's get the separation. Because that person now needs to start looking for what? Square holes, while I do for round pegs. It's just that simple.
So another question, how do you distinguish between a temporary setback and a true failure?
Me? I know Kobe. Kobe says it doesn't exist. I'm gonna keep trying. That's me. And again, let's just be very clear. For me, I also want to make sacrifices, and I don't mind losing till I win. So, for those who are not students of, or you don't watch sports like that, I learned a lot from watching them. While everybody's watching us now game, I'm learning so many things. I'm learning teamwork, I'm learning leadership, I'm learning. So while everybody is watching boxing and they are seeing blood, I'm seeing perseverance. Go and knock Muhammad Ali down, he will get up. And while you are knocking him down, he's saying I'm the greatest in the world. And he's calling you ugly. And he's motivating himself. And at some point he will just turn on you and beat the crap out of you. That's just who he was, and he will just tell you, you know, I sting like a bee. So again, it is down to the mindset. So the idea of see, I like the fact that the person is saying, how do you differentiate between temporary and if I close my business, it's not a failure. It's not a failure. If I close my business, it's not a failure. Because I can open another business that will be successful. If I lose my job, it's not a failure. I can sit down and analyze, why did I lose my job? Get another job and never make those mistakes again. So to that person's question, the person answered their own question. Failure is temporary and it's a tool, and I'm going to use it. I'm not going to hold a broom and stand on dirt. Doesn't work for me.
Complain.
And complain. No. So that will be my answer to that question.
Alright, so I got one more. You said in situations where you fail multiple times, let's say at work, and you are given the chance to try again because they don't want you to okay, I'm not giving the chance to try again because they don't want to mess up things. What do you do in such situations?
How many times have you failed? Why are you failing multiple times? At what point do you again?
So in situations where you have failed multiple times, let's say at work, and you are not given the chance to try again because they don't want to mess up things, what do you do in such situations?
You lose the job. You get another job in a place where what happens? They give you the opportunity to grow. Again, they don't want you to break things because breaking things may be very damaging for not just you, maybe for everybody else. Maybe they cannot handle, you know. I'll give you an example. If a pilot tells you that I land the plane 50% of the time, I fail, but after I fail, I succeed. I fail, I succeed. I feel like we get on that plane. that person just needs to do what? Stop flying. And go and start flying in simulation. So again, the answer to that question is failure just doesn't exist. Okay, you've flown 10 times. Out of the 5, you crashed the plane. Thank God, people didn't die. And then the 11th time you want to fly, you say, I have a 50-50 landing record. No, don't come out and say you have a 50-50 landing record, or I perform surgery and 50% of the time the people that are on my surgical bed, they die. No. Go and buy rats and start performing your surgery on rats, and by the time you get to 99% on rats, come back to human beings. Go and start flying simulators. By the time you get to 99.99% of landing success, come back to flying people. Again, it goes back to, if you are not the right person for the job, you are not the right person for the job. So if you leave or they let you go, and that's the job that you want to do, what do? Go back to learning, go back to practicing, so that you can come back what? Stronger.
Alright, so I think this should be the final question. Who is asking what failure is actually? I think there's so many years of way at the beginning. That's asking what is failure, like what actually is failure?
It's a tool for success. Am I free?
Yeah, you're free.
This question that makes you
Sorry. We are just looking at failure as it's not it's like a sub. It can be seen as growth or encompassing. Now, at what point do we say that someone is a failure in life? Because you can say, okay, failure, you failed at this, you learn from it, you have to do that, do other things, and you can fail here, leave it, fail here, leave it, and keep like that. So at what point do we now say this person is just
You can't say somebody is a failure. Somebody can look at themselves and say, the choices I have made has made me fail, but as long as there is life, it can become a success. As long as, see, the thing is, like say someone is a failure in life, it's choices. That's what I said. So that question again, what is failure? It's a choice. It's a tool, it's a choice. If you decide that you want to end as a failure, you will end as a failure, because guess what? You are not going to get up and do the things that you need to do to be successful. Do not get me wrong. There are those circumstances that are beyond people. But at the end of the day, in any endeavor, it's difficult to say that somebody is a failure in life, because once they know they failed, they now have the tool. Use it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. If you haven't failed before, you are a failure. That's because you are not learning, you're not growing. Everything you do, you are getting it right. It doesn't exist. Failure at some point is inevitable. The person that you call a failure in life, or the person that says to himself, I am a failure, is because they gave up. And what does it say about giving up? It's unforgivable. So that's the way I'll answer that question. You have a question?
I feel like failure is stigmatized, especially in this our present society. When people feel like, oh, this person, he can't do anything right, he just don't know how to do it. But according to said failure doesn't exist. I'm looking at this man that created for what's the evidence? He tried thousands of
I was
times.
about to say one day too soon. Light bulb. I'm like, that's me at too soon. Okay. Please go ahead.
The man he failed thousands of times before you need to achieve that. But in this our present society, when it's a person who fails that much, especially if you fail 4 times, 5 times, you'll be like, this person, just give up, you can't do anything. And you have a growth mindset. So So how will you help yourself to learn from that failure?
Let me ask you guys one question. Who is the president of Nigeria today? Who is the immediate past president of Nigeria? Good. If you want to call Buhari today, what will you call him? President Buhari, right? You can't take it away from him. He has served Nigeria 2 terms as president. Pass or fail was president, right? And he has all the honors that go with being president of Nigeria. Nobody can take it from him. President Tinubu, the same thing, right? How many times did President Tinubu run for office? For president? Once. He ran once, he won. You know how many times Buhari ran? 4. Huh? 4 times. He never gave up. He never gave up. Never. Doesn't take anything away from you. Do you know how many people said to Buhari he can never get there? Even Tinubu trolled him. He said he was crying. We called him. He said, at the end of the day, he got there. You see, the best revenge and the best response to any of those things is success. So those things should actually motivate you. The people that tell me that I can't do something, oh no, they are my best friends. I always shut them down. What's your phone number? He will actually say that. I'll be sure. So for me, that's extra motivation, you know. Yes, it's not easy to hear that you are a failure. It's not easy to hear. But guess what? Another thing that I know, right? How many of you went to secondary school and you just know those guys that were failing and repeating and they were just terrible, but today they are more successful? Kobe said it, and there's always a tomorrow. The story continues. They are more successful. You know why? Because today I've not been looking at how they educate people today. And if you go to all those fancy schools, you'll not see that they know that some people don't. I went to one event, I was to speak at one event, a bunch of private schools, and they were talking about how they teach them. And I just, they don't let this whole thing fool you. I went to a very, very, very rough school. Toshi and I went to Jebode Grammar School. Rough, right? Jogs, fantastic. And I'm hearing that these kids like, oh, some kids you can't give them homework, they won't submit there, they are not, that's not how they learn. Yeah? But it's the truth, those kids that were failing back then, that was just not how they learned. And nobody back then figured out a way to say, and that's why for that question around how does an employer help, you cannot say the tools that you use for Oyinda is the same tools that work for Ijoma. So what do I do here? In front of everybody, I wire Ijoma money for you to know that what I encourage good behavior and success. In front of everybody, I will call out Ijoma. Now, I won't call out Ijoma, I won't call out Oyinda, because they cannot take it. But there is Korede or Daniel that I know that no matter how much I dig them, Daniel especially, your boss, when I'm done with him, everybody will be like, you hate this guy. That thing motivates him. He will go to the corner and send me message, boss, you said these things to me, I don't like it. I will call him, I'll say I'm sorry, but you get the point. I got the point. But if you do that to Oyinda, she might not sleep for 2 months. So you have to be flexible in how you deal with people. You can't use the same, you can't whitewash leading, you can't whitewash training. The same way our education, you cannot everybody must do homework. Some people have ADD, they cannot sit down in one place, so you want them to sit down and be doing homework. Not to say that it's wrong, you just have to find a different way. There's some parents figure it out, they'll say, okay, you know what? The only way this kid will do homework is to get a lesson teacher. Like sitting with them and they are doing the homework. Because if you leave him alone to do the homework, kids are very innocent in their way, right? They just don't know. They don't know what's making them not want to do the homework. Do you understand what I'm saying? So they now start to look at it. I'm telling you, I look at some people back then. These people could not write a sentence. And I'm looking at now. Look at that company. Now some of them might be listening, so if I start to say what they do this. And I went to only boys school. And no matter how old you get, they can still gather together and beat you. No matter how successful you are. So let me be very mindful of things that I say. But when I look at some of them today, I'm just like, God. They were leading you down the wrong path by not. But again, because you are just a fighter. Some people are just fighters. The Nigerians, for example, us young people, we are fighters. Our education system, including the private school, they're not so great. But we still come out and we persevere and we are trying. Living in this country, we're trying. Failing every day, but still getting up. Let's say Nigerians are tonight. Go to all the clubs and all the hotels and all the social gatherings. They're still full. Just keep finding ways. So you just, sorry, what's your name? Sarah, you just have to use those names as motivating factors. Write their name down. So watch this. I'm not married. There are some people who think I will never get married. I just write them down. Guest list. Yes, now. They will have, all of them, they will have a table. They won't know. They won't know. They'll just see that they have a table and they are invited. They don't know, why is this guy inviting me? I'm not even friends like that. Oh, you made a comment. Guest list.
So I want to take something. He said that you gave us an example of pilot. So I want to take it into a family aspect. So when we have maybe the husband trying hard to provide for family, in some cases you will be afraid to fail because of the family.
There's too much at risk, yes.
So how do we manage? Because in those cases you cannot just say, okay, because if you are the only person, you can fail and get up. But when you have people that are dependent or they are expecting much from you, how do you balance that?
So you're afraid to fail because you have a family.
Yes.
But if you're successful, you'll be happy. So the reason why you're not going to try what you need to try is because you are afraid to fail because you have a family.
No, I'm just saying.
You don't think that you are depriving them of a potential success? Again, at the end of the day, it also boils down to what are you known for? You know, again, always look at this thing. Pattern. You think that a man that when he has a job does everything right by his family, school fees paid, house bills paid, wife go and get your hair did, everything is great. Then he goes to go and risk some of their money to try to do business, right? And it fails. You think that kind of person is the kind of person that will be scared of failure? No, the one that is scared of failing, or that has a fear of failure, is the one that probably has a pattern of messing up. I don't know if you understand me. If you have a track record of messing up, nobody will trust you to take risks. I don't know if you understand me. If you have money, an Okweye is a broker, right? And every time you give him your money, he brings you ×5. And one day, you give him your money, and he tells you, bro, money gone. Is he a failure? He just failed. That's all it is. He failed, which is part of life. Okwe will tell you, bro, I lost your money, but don't worry, I got you. He might even say, you know what, next time I make a gain, if it's 1 million naira you give him, maybe he cannot return 1 million naira to you. He brings you 500K. The next time you have money to invest, you are not going to look for a new broker. You know that, right? You are going to look for him. Because you know that even in his failure, he tried. And if he takes your money and he doesn't try something with it, and he puts it in his bank account, you'll be getting ×5 of your money back. So the entire time he was bringing you ×5, he was betting your money. Because that's what brokers do. They invest your money in something that they expect to yield returns. But if you are the kind of person, that's why even in investments, they will ask you, what is your risk appetite? Which is, a lot of us are risk appetite is I don't want to lose my money, but I want to get a lot of money back. That's not risk.
Long time, 1 week.
Huh?
I said long time, 1 week.
You want to do MMM. A lot of people that understand this thing, they will tell you they hire the risk. They hire the reward. So if you tell them, bro, my risk appetite is low, he will just put your money in low yield, safe investments. Bro, what's your name? Akombi. Bro, Akombi does not like to, does not want to hear story, he needs his money back. Okay, I'll put Akombi's money in treasury bills, bonds. I'll put in a fixed deposit account. Get this small. Only that I say, bro, don't worry. My risk appetite is high. I go and buy Bitcoin now. Buy the dip. That's what he's going to do. If he buys the dip and he dippers, sorry. But if he buys the dip and then the graph goes up and he sells, he should get ×5 of your money. That's just, so that's, you see, you taking a risk and you failing, two different things. Failure is not that you, like, you take a risk with your family's savings, for example. There was a way you saved up that money. I always tell people whether you worked, gathered money, saved it, you lost it. What can you do again? Work, gather money, save it. How did you lose it? I'm not going there again. I'll be very careful. Maybe the last time you took 100% of your family's savings and used it in an investment. Now you say to yourself, okay, I've been able to build this thing back up, no longer 100%, 50%, because we must have for rainy days. That's just, again, if your decision making is not progressing, then people won't trust you.
Alright, thank you so much. I think we don't have to end it. Let's go stress further. Thank you so much one day. So please, can you take a picture? So let's just create a space.
Thank you all.